And welcome to the third installment of the Rise Up Report, where we talk about all things XCFL Atlanta Falcons football. And we have a great episode for you today. We've got a lot of topics that we're going to go over. We're going to take a look at the rookies. Yes, the rookies. We're going to see how they've done thus far coming up into Week 11. See how they stack up and see if Duke Silver actually, wishes he would have picked someone different, or how they're matching up thus far. We're going to take a look at the team overall stats, how they compare against the 31 other teams. We're going to take a look at a player spotlight again. This was a very popular segment last time, and we're going to take a look at a player that has done great for us leading up to this broadcast. We're going to take a look at the injuries and how that actually affects the offensive and defensive depth chart. We're going to take a look at their upcoming schedule and how they've done against 10 weeks thus far, and we're going to take a look at the standings and how they match up in their divisions. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to take a look at the rookies first off. The rookies. Gross at the top of the list here. 20 tackles, only 1 interception, but 8 deflections. They are simply not passing the ball in his direction. They are more testing the middle of the field and Jalen Collins. Gross has just been shut down on his side. He hasn't given up any big plays. He has been locked down on his receiver. That's why. It's kind of like that Richard Sherman effect, where Richard Sherman didn't have a lot of interceptions, but it's more or less because of the way he plays, them not wanting to test his side of the ball. Then we look at Joseph Deal. He's played 9 games thus far, all 380 snaps, hasn't missed 1 snap, and he's only given up 1 sack. For a rookie guard, that is huge, and he has been one of the best players that we have drafted thus far. Then we take a look at Jamal Perkins. Not his fault of any sort, but he was out 5 games with injury, so he's only got 15 tackles and 2 sacks. We expect a lot out of him, especially in the second half of the season. And we're going to talk about Swanson a little bit later. And then Gray only 7 tackles, 1 sack. It's only because he's not really seeing the field that much. They just have a lot of depth at that defensive line, so they haven't really had to use him. He's more of a rotational player at this point, but again, it's not any fault of his. So we're going to take a look at how they fare against the other 31 teams. If you look at their offense, they 4th overall, 30 points a game. You cannot beat that. They have just simply been able to put up points against the entire league. Then you look at their yards. They're 6th place, 361 yards total offense. It doesn't seem like a lot, but with our settings and the way that our clocks work, 361 is actually pretty decent. And then you look at their passing. Yeah, they're about middle of the pack. And that actually could affect them re-signing Matt Ryan in the offseason, which is going to be huge because he's asking for a lot of money. And then you look at the rushing offense. I mean, they have Devontae Freeman. They got Jeremy Hill back, even Brian Hill. They have just simply been able to move the ball with that great blocking and score points with it. And if you look at the defensive side, I mean, you cannot ask for a better defense. 5th overall, only giving up 19 points a game. They have given up the least amount of yards a game at 242. 186 of that is passing offense, and that's only 3rd. Again, 3rd place. In rushing, they are 1st overall. They are not simply allowing rushers to go over 100 yards, and they're only giving up 55. So that is absolutely huge. So now what I like to do is I want to go over into our player spotlight. Yes, our player spotlight. People ask for it again. We're going to give it to you. Quadarius Swanson. He has provided 3 key sacks, and all of them come in the last game against the Seahawks. They were down most of this game. They just fumbled the ball 3 times. They gave up a kickoff return. DeForest Buckner goes down. We're going to talk about his injury a little bit later, but Swanson steps in at that role, gets 3 sacks in the second half, and just completely dominated the game. That is why he is our player spotlight for this week. We love what he's been doing. And, again, if he's going to have to step up for Buckner being out, and I really think he can do it. He just did a great job last game. So at that point, let's take a look at the injury report. A lot less players than we had last time. So going into Week 11, we have Austin Hooper, who actually is questionable for this week versus the Panthers. We have DeForest Buckner, huge blow, because he was actually 3rd overall total sacks. So he has 13 sacks, and it's going to be huge. So we have a couple guys that are hopefully going to step up in that role. Swanson, Perkins, maybe even the other rookie, Gray. So that's why we drafted line, because of depth. And you know what? This year we've had to use it. So hopefully we can get those guys healthy and back up on the field. We're going to take a look at the offensive depth chart. Yes, if you look, you got some players that have some confidence, which boosts their stats. Deal being one of them. Again, only giving up 1 sack. You look at Mack, Saffold, Schrader, Matthews. Those guys are just been a key for our running success. And then you look at Freeman. He's actually 3rd in the league in total yards. And then now we obviously got rid of Julio Jones. So we got Shepard on one side. We got Sharp on the other side. We love these guys. And then Nathan Boyle and Saubert are actually going to fill in for the injured Hooper. Hopefully we can get him back really soon, sooner than later. Let's take a look at the defensive side here. Not a lot of names that stick out, different than last time. Other than Perkins, we're actually going to flip him on the other side. He's going to start in place of Buckner. Claiborne's going to be on that right end because he's able to stop the run. He's not a great pass rusher, but he's actually pretty good. And we get Jarrett back. We love Jarrett. This guy was hurt for about 4 weeks, and we missed him. He's going to he's going to, be able to move the middle of the pocket, hopefully help out the edges there, and also the outside pass rushing of Beasley and McKinley. And then we have Gross and Collins on the edges on the corner. They have both been lights out. And then we got Allen and Neal. I mean, those guys, you can't ask for better safety. So we really love what they're doing. So let's take a look at their upcoming schedule here. If you look here on the left side, we are putting up their win-loss record thus far. As you can see, they had a tough stretch from week 2 to week 6. They were on the road. They did lose to the Cowboys, 18-28. It wasn't as close. I mean, the Cowboys really dominated on both sides of the field there. Then they got a big win over the Redskins, big win over the Bengals. They won. It was a close game with the Eagles. There wasn't a lot of offense in that one. And then one of the best games I've seen against the Lions, 37-31. They took them all the way to overtime. They got the coin toss, and that was it. They drove down the field, scored, and they won. And then they were off on a bye week in week 9. In week 10, huge win over the Seahawks. Like I said, Seahawks are winning most of that game. Actually came back and won. It was super exciting to watch. And then you look at their upcoming schedule. They got a 2-7 Panthers, but the Panthers actually have been playing pretty well as of late. Very close game, so don't count them out. Then the Giants, huge game there. They got a powerful offense. That's actually who they traded Julio Jones to. They got Julio Jones, Alshon Jeffrey, and Odell Beckham. They have a huge offense there. So the the Falcons definitely have their hands full. And then they got the AFC leading Browns. The Browns are just playing lights out as of late. They've got consistent play from their quarterback and their offense, and they've just been able to dominate that entire conference. And then you got the 1-8 Saints. Again, they're not a pushover by any means. If you look, it was actually a pretty close game in week 2. And then you got the Super Bowl champions Steelers at 6-4. Again, they've got such a massive passing attack. The Falcons corners are going to have their hands full. And then you got the Buccaneers at 5-5. They're actually playing better than what their record states. They actually won the division last year, so that's definitely going to be a tough game. And then they're going to finish at home against the Panthers. So we'll see how that actually helps out. So finally, we're going to take a look at their standings through 10 games. Atlanta, we are 8-1. We're pretty far ahead of Tampa Bay, but they are not looking in their rearview mirror. They are looking at with blinders, full steam ahead, because they have the Cowboys at 8-1. I believe at 9-1 now, and the Lions at 9-1. So they definitely want to lock up one of those top 2 positions to get a bye that first playoff week. So they have by no means an easy schedule. So we are going to close out at that point. Run a little long here, but just want to say thank you for everybody that watches this show. If you have anything that you want me to add to this, or anything that you want me to talk about, definitely hit me up. Definitely subscribe and like this channel. We love our viewership. We love running this league. So thank you, everybody, and have a great and blessed